Planet of the Apes, which is now on streaming. Again, another highly regarded film that was regarded as a little bit of a flop, but not really, because it did 400 million at the box office. So I can't see how that would be considered a flop. I was annoyed when they relaunched the Planet of the Apes films, primarily because I think the 3 Planet of the Apes films that were in a row from, I can't remember what they were all called, but the recent trilogy of Planet of the Apes is the best fantasy sci-fi trilogy by quality since the Lord of the Rings movies. It was superb, and it all knitted together magnificently in one long-form story. Each film told a different story and was in a different style and tone. And it was just magnificent. Everything worked, and the performance of Andy Serkis as Caesar, even for an actor that is continually praised for his work in the realm of being CGI represented from Gollum, King Kong, and so on, and really sadly in that terrible character in the rather naff Star Wars trilogy. It's his crowning achievement. It was an Oscar-worthy role, and the character was brilliant as well. So when they said they were going to reboot it, I was kind of angry, but they've done a very good job. And I don't think these films will be seen as Planet of the Apes 4, even though there's like 6 or 7 films in the whole trilogy if you go back to the original Charlton Heston Planet of the Apes. I don't think this will be... I think this is like definitely film 1 in a new trilogy. For better or worse. This time we move after Caesar died and all the apes came together, and there was this big standoff with humans fighting each other primarily. We move forward probably a few hundred years, where Caesar has become a mythical Jesus-like character, whose teachings and words are either an inspiration or wildly misappropriated by potential tyrants, much like today. So we get this very Avatar-esque opening, and I'll say this: the visuals on this film, I don't know, the cinematography was Giulio Pados, but how much of it was cinematography and how much of it was CGI, I don't know. It opens very much like Avatar in this sort of mythical fake jungle universe. It looks better than the Avatar movies. It's stunning to look at and a lot less like a screensaver. It like merges the fantastical with real, textures of wood and stuff much, much better than Avatar does. I think it's a better looking film overall, to be honest. So we get the initial character who's the lead character in the replacement for Caesar, played by Owen Teague. Pretty much everyone in this isn't that well known. Who's Noah, who is a young chimpanzee, and they practice falconry, and he and his 2 other young companions are off to steal falcon eggs, not to eat them, but because they take an egg each, and that falcon grows up with them, and they're going through this coming of age story. They glimpse what turns out to be a human, who is the... I don't know why they keep doing this with female characters. They keep putting them front and centre on the posters, like they did with the Hunger Games movie, when she isn't really front and centre in the... Freya Allen. She isn't front and centre in the film that much. It's certainly not in the first hour. You barely see her. What's her character's name? As May. So Freya Allen is May. She's like this wastrel hiding in the woods, and they spot her, but they can't get close to her. And in this era, apes all talk, and humans are, due to the virus from the previous trilogy that made apes smarter, it also lost humans the ability to talk or have cognitive abilities and so on. So they're basically now considered the lower form of life, and they're scrambling around in the gravel for scraps and so on, and can't communicate with each other. Then someone chasing the human, a tribe of people who are from a much more warlike band of apes. They've been tracking this human, and they basically destroy. I won't go into the plot too much, but it revolves around one group of very powerful warlike apes that keep raiding villages and stealing the people to bring them into a totalitarian dictatorship. And they're trying to get into this underground bunker, which they believe will contain basically lots of weaponry, will make them super powerful. I thought this is a very strong film, apart from how amazing it looks, and it really does, and the score's good as well. The acting throughout is fantastic. It's ironic that Freya Allen as May, her character is underdeveloped, and I wasn't particularly blown away by her performance, to be honest. She's a human. She's got her full range of facial expressions, but Owen Teague and many of the others, such as Peter Macon as the orangutan, and Kevin Durand as Proximus Caesar, the evil ape who owns this whole regime that has stolen all these tribes and made them all into one big tribe, on the borderline of, slavery, but not actually quite. Despite being extremely murderous. His character and his acting is fantastic. He's shown to be somebody who, through William H. Macy, who is another human, the only other human shown on film that can talk, he reads the classics. So William H. Macy's taught this ape to read. That's the one thing the apes didn't have, is the ability to understand the written word. And he's taught him human history, and that's where he's got the name Proximus Caesar from. He's a fascinating character. I won't spoil the progression of the story, but it's basically a battle between all these different elements. I thought the character having this, I thought the villain's motives, even though he was an egocentric, murderous tyrant, were often actually quite reasonable, which was, do not trust humans. We cannot trust humans, so we need to have this to advance ourselves. We cannot let humans come back into the chain because they'll want it all for themselves. It all made complete sense. I thought Owen Teague was fantastic as Noah. It's a thankless job trying to fill the shoes of probably the greatest CGI character of all time, which is Caesar in those Planet of the Apes movies. But he does a very, very good job. And so is the Raka character played by Peter Macon. Pretty much everyone in this is really, all the ape actors are fantastic in this film. It's like quality acting across the board. The action sequences are incredibly exciting and very, very almost scary and thrilling. Really well done. And there's some nice twists and turns along the way. And I really appreciated the complexity of the May character, even though they don't develop her, but the relationship she has with her kind and with the apes who are on her side, which is quite complex and thoughtful and interesting. Like, I didn't trust her. I mean, the weird thing is that all my complaints about this film are complaints that you wouldn't have if you've only seen this film. Number one is the fact that the entire enterprise seems to be set up for the next film. So the previous trilogy, every film was completely enclosed in itself and had a complete denouement and finale, and we moved on to the next film, and that did the same. This one it's set up. You know that you're not going to get any form of resolution, which was a negative tick, I feel. The other one is how derivative it is of the previous film. The last Planet of the Apes film had so many elements that are very similar. We had the Caesar character. Here we have the very close character of Noah traveling the wilderness, the apocalyptic wilderness, on a horse. Same thing here with an orangutan friend. Same thing here with a small human. Same thing here. There are so many parallels between that last film and this one that it was a little bit much. It did, even though it's done very well. I thought the denouement could have been done better. I thought like most of the lead up to the denouement was good, but when your tagline is apes together strong, and you end it like that, which was a bit goofy in a way. I don't know why they didn't go for apes are strong a bit better on that final bit. But it set itself up for a fascinating, you would imagine, humans v. apes story. And I thought it was excellent. Apart from, those quibbles wouldn't really apply if you hadn't seen any of the other films. But if you've come from the last one to this one, having that Don Quixote tribe of the orangutan, the Caesar character, and the small human traipsing along on horseback through the apocalyptic wasteland is really close. But, it's a fantastic sci-fi fantasy which gets a couple of knockoff points for elements that aren't really a watch. It does drag a little bit, but it's also quite thoughtful, and it buys its time in the way. Like the opening 20 minutes or so, I thought it was going to have this cheesiness of Avatar. I hate the Avatar movies. And have that cheesiness, and then it just explodes. And it does that quite frequently throughout the film, and it drops the hokiness of Avatar quite quickly and becomes a more intelligent and interesting thematic film. So I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, which is a damning with faint praise. But given that they spend so much of the film setting up the next film, instead of resolving this film more fluidly or comprehensively, and given the fact that they chose to ape so much of the very last one, not even the earlier versions of Planet of the Apes, but exactly like the last film in so many areas, an 8 out of 10, but still a fantastic watch.